Welcome to This Explainer. Okay, today we are cracking open a seriously fascinating source, the Susruta Ayurveda Master Script, to figure out exactly why that tired classic advice of just eat less and move more fails so many of us. If you've ever felt like your body just isn't playing by the rules of basic math, you're going to want to stick around, because this explainer is going to completely change how you look at your health and your metabolism. So let's just dive right into this. Why on earth do two people eating the exact same food gain weight totally differently? We see this reality literally all the time, right? Yet society still pushes this myth that weight gain is just a lack of willpower. Well, it isn't. When we finally shatter that willpower myth, we reveal this world of incredible metabolic complexity. Your body isn't a simple machine. It's a highly sophisticated biological system that reacts in completely different ways based on a whole bunch of internal signals. Here is our roadmap for today. We're going to cover 1. The calorie myth, 2. Modern metabolic science, 3. The Ayurvedic framework, 4. Bridging ancient and modern, and 5. An evidence-based lifestyle. Let's get to it. Section 1. The calorie myth. It's about way more than just energy. For decades, we've basically treated the human body like a simple calculator. But trying to treat our highly complex biology as a neat little ledger is just fundamentally flawed. Now, calories do matter, yes, but they are absolutely not the whole story. The source material emphasizes this fascinating phenomenon called metabolic adaptation. When you drastically cut calories, your body actually senses a famine. It doesn't know you're just trying to look good for a beach vacation. It literally thinks you are starving out in the wilderness. So in response, it aggressively slows down your basal metabolic rate to conserve energy. This perfectly explains why starvation diets ultimately plateau and fail. Your biology is actively fighting against the restriction just to keep you alive. Moving on to Section 2, modern metabolic science and those hidden drivers. So if calories aren't the sole root cause of our health epidemic, what's actually driving the bus here? Well, we are talking about massive, hidden physiological drivers. Hormones like insulin, which actively stores fat, leptin, which signals fullness, and ghrelin, that hunger hormone that makes your stomach rumble. And then add to that cortisol from chronic stress, the immense impact of poor sleep, your genetics, and the incredibly complex ecosystem of your gut microbiome. It's honestly completely overwhelming when you realize just how simplistic that old calorie in, calorie out model is in comparison. These hormones and stressors dictate exactly how your body manages weight long before a single calorie is even processed. All right, Section 3, the Ayurvedic framework, where we explain the concept of Sthaulya. Way back in classical Ayurvedic texts like the ancient Charaka Samhita, they recognized obesity thousands of years ago as a super complex, systemic condition that they called Sthaulya. And it all kicks off with a concept known as Agni. In Ayurveda, Agni translates to the digestive and metabolic fire responsible for transformation and processing in the body. Think of it like your internal engine. Strong Agni means you're efficiently processing everything you consume. But weak Agni, that's the very first domino to fall in metabolic dysfunction. If the fire's weak, the whole system backs up. And, well, that backup leads us directly to the next piece of the puzzle, Ama. Ama refers to the toxic, unmetabolized byproducts that result from impaired digestion and a weak Agni. Basically, when your body can't process inputs efficiently, Ama is the consequence. According to these classical texts, this Ama circulates and literally blocks the body's channels, which are known as Srotas. Imagine a massive traffic jam on your body's biological superhighway. Absolutely nothing gets to where it needs to go, which just further disrupts your overall health and energy. Finally, we hit Meda Dhatu. This is defined as the body's fat tissue layer, and it's closely linked with a heavy, stable energy known as Kapha. Actually, if you want a really relatable example of what that heavy, stable energy feels like, just think about how you feel right after a massive Thanksgiving dinner, right? Sthaulya, or obesity, is viewed as an overaccumulation in the specific Meda Dhatu tissue layer. It is the end result of that sluggish Agni and the buildup of Ama blocking all the traffic. Section 4. Bridging ancient and modern. Now, what's really interesting here is how this ancient terminology overlays with 21st century science in a truly stunning way. We are building a conceptual bridge. When Ayurveda speaks of Agni, the metabolic fire, it maps pretty much directly to modern science's idea of metabolic efficiency. When modern endocrinologists talk about a highly efficient basal metabolic rate, how brilliantly your cells convert fuel into energy, they're describing the exact same systemic function that ancient practitioners meant by strong Agni. And similarly, those toxic byproducts known as AMA perfectly mirror modern medicine's view of inflammatory burden. This connection is just brilliant. Today, we know for a fact that hidden, low-grade chronic inflammation is a primary driver of metabolic dysfunction and insulin resistance. It acts exactly like a toxic blockage in your body's physiological channels, jamming up the signals just like AMA. Then, when we look at Meda Dhatu and Kapha right alongside modern adipose tissue biology, the parallels just keep coming. Now, to be totally clear, this is a conceptual bridge, okay? Not a perfect one-to-one scientific match. But observing Meda Dhatu through the lens of Kapha's heavy, stable energy is remarkably similar to studying how modern adipose tissue stores energy and displays anabolic tendencies. These ancient observers recognized the systemic nature of fat storage millennia before the invention of the microscope. It is absolutely mind-blowing.
Section 5. Evidence-based lifestyle and practical application.
So how do we actually apply this dual paradigm knowledge to improve our health, instead of just falling for the latest internet scams? Well, first things first, we have to abandon the quick fix myths. Detox teas, starvation diets, fat burners, spot reduction, they simply fight against your body's natural adaptations. The science is incredibly clear on this. They do not work long-term. Instead, both classical Ayurvedic guidelines and modern clinical research agree entirely on the reality. True health requires whole foods, circadian sleep, mindful eating, fiber, and protein. Holistic, steady lifestyle practices are the only sustainable path forward. And this brilliantly illustrates a concept called dinacharya, which is the Ayurvedic daily routine. Just look at how perfectly it aligns with our biology. Morning is dedicated to movement, to wake up the system. Midday is prioritized for your main heaviest meal. Why? Because that is when the sun is highest in the sky, which ancient wisdom and modern biology both correlate to your peak Agni, or peak digestive fire. Then, the evening is reserved for rest and sleep. By aligning our meal timing and daily movement with our natural 24-hour cycle, we are actively optimizing biological hormones like cortisol and melatonin, which science proves time and time again is vital for weight management. And modern validation for this routine? It is pouring in. High-quality research, including massive meta-analyses and randomized controlled trials, completely validates the incredible impact of the gut microbiome, circadian rhythms, sleep quality, and specific dietary patterns on our weight. But a quick caveat from the source material. Treatment should always be individualized under qualified practitioners. We really shouldn't expect miracle cures overnight, but rather sustainable, evidence-based adjustments that are tailored to our own unique biology. Ultimately, obesity is a complex metabolic condition influenced by biology, behavior, and environment. It is not a math equation. That quote really just summarizes the whole shebang we've uncovered today. You are a complex, beautiful biological system. Your overall health and how your body processes energy depends on so much more than just obsessively counting calories. So, knowing what you know now about this incredibly complex biology inside you, how are you going to adjust your daily routine to actually respect it? Really reflect on that for a second. If you found this synthesis of ancient wisdom and modern science as fascinating as I did, be sure to check out Susruta Ayurveda for more scientifically grounded discussions on these sources. Keep questioning, keep learning, and I'll see you in the next explainer.